Hello, this is a frequently asked questions video, and I'm going to go through some frequently asked questions here. So let's start. The first question is why out of position player doesn't bet, and that's a question which often arises when you first see this tree building form here. And what people do is they try to make like some simple case. So let's go through this process here. We'll have like big blind defend in range, button still in range, some kind of board, some kind of starting pot, some kind of starting stacks, and then bet sizes. Let's say 65, 75, 75, and the raise sizes 2.x, 3x, 3x, and then people use that button here to copy those settings to out of position player as well. So then you build a tree and you discover that in the first decision node there is no betting option for out of position player. We can see that once out of position player checks, and then there is a bet and a check for in position player. But here there is no option to bet. And the question is, why is that? The reason for that is that there are those checkboxes here, which say include OOP bet, include OOP bet if called previous street, and they are responsible for making OOP bet available. So when we check that and build a tree, we can see that now there is an option to bet out of position. Another thing is that if we go to the turn, we can see that there's again no option to don't bet the turn after check calling the flop. But there is an option to bet the turn when it's check on the flop. And the reason for that is that this checkbox here is responsible for that option, so for donking the turn. So if we check that, build the tree, we'll see that now all the options are available. So I hope that answered that question. And another question is a follow-up question to that. Why is that? So the reason for that is that those lines, and specifically betting out of position on the flop, betting on the turn after check calling the flop, and betting on the river after check calling the turn, are often not needed, and they make the tree way, removing them make the tree way smaller and faster to solve. So if out of position range is weaker, then as a general rule, out of position player is not going to bet the flop. And most of the time, they are not going to bet the turn after check calling the flop, although that has a lot of exceptions. So for a quick simulation, it's always, it often makes sense to remove those options. And they are off by default. Maybe that wasn't the best decision, but it is what it is. So if you want OOP bets, then just check those checkboxes. And we can see the difference in tree size. This tree here is 2.3 gigabytes with all those options. When we remove this one, it's going to be 1.5 and it's going to be proportionally the same for solving speed. So it's a very significant difference actually. Okay, so another question. Another question is how do I input multiple bet sizes? So you can see that here we only have one bet size, this 65, and we may want more bet sizes. So what we do is just use a comma here and then input another size, like 100%. We build a tree and we can see that there is another bet size available now, the pot size bet 65 in the pot of 65. So we can add that at any place we want, for example here. then we will see that on the turn I in position player have more bet sizes as well. The problem with that is that every bet size we add makes the tree bigger. So our original tree here was 1.5 gigabytes. After we add additional bet size on the flop, it's going to be 2.1. And if we add additional bet size on the turn, it's going to be 2.4. So you have to be a bit careful with those bet sizes because the tree gets bigger and it gets slower to solve as well. That is especially true when you are adding very small bet sizes. So if we add like 25 here, it's going to be 2.3, 3.3, I'm sorry. And the reason for that is that there is now this chain of small bets, small raise, small raise, small raise, small raise, small raise, and this is not very good for a tree size, and it's very difficult to solve as well. So what we can do to mitigate that effect is to use a cap. If we use the cap of 4, it means that fourth bet of any street is going to be an all-in, and that is good because here bet raise, raise, and this one is already because that's the fourth one is already rounded to an all-in, and that makes the tree significantly smaller and easier to solve. Especially it's easier to solve. As you can see, I have used a space here instead of a comma. You can do that. So yeah, if you do this like the space, then we are going to have 3 bet sizes for IP player. And again, it's separate option for IP player and out of position player. So if you want more bet sizes for out of position player, you need to add them here. So I hope that clarifies matters. Oh, also you can at this point you can only use up to 10 actions per decision node. So that means that you can input 9 bet sizes and a check, or 8 raise sizes, a call and a fold, because if you input more than that, it's not going to, the solver is not going to solve that. And the reason for that is that it was faster that way to implement, and I thought more than 10 is not going to be needed anytime soon. Okay, so another question is how to tell the solver who was the preflop raiser. So very common question is how does the solver know who raised preflop, what was the preflop action, and that implies that people who ask that question think that maybe it's important to know, for post-flop play, who was the preflop raiser. So this is a misconception, and in theory it doesn't matter at all who was the preflop raiser. The only things that matter for optimal play are those which are mentioned here, which are ranges, board, starting pot, and effective stacks. So that might be surprising first time you hear about that, and I'm going to explain maybe a bit further. The reason for that is, I mean, the reason for the concept of initiative. So who raised preflop is that usually the preflop raiser range is stronger. So for example, here we have this 3-bet pot, like in heads-up play, like more or less ballpark ranges. And when we build this tree, we can see that out of position range has 55.3 equity, and out of position range 44. I mean, in position range 44.6. So that means that out of position range is stronger, and that's usually the case when you were the preflop aggressor, because that makes sense. So that is the reason out of position player may want to make a continuation bet. It's not because there was some initiative or raising preflop or whatever. It is only because the range is stronger at this point. So that's why the solver doesn't need to know who was the preflop raiser, and that's why the solution is going to be optimal. So yeah. Another thing is that solver in general, the solver in general bets less out of position than people are used to. That is especially true for situations like small blind against big blind. And yeah, that's something you need to get used to, because that's optimal play for you. Another question: why strategy is full square for hands which already folded? Okay, so I'm going to go a bit deeper into that. Let's see, I have a spot like here. So this spot is button against big blind in 6 max play with somewhat standard bet sizes and then overbet on the river available as well. And the question we often hear is, let's say we are here on the responding to the continuation bet, and we have a hand like, I don't know, Queen 10, which is folding 100%. Maybe like Queen 8 is offsuit is folding 100% of the time. So we remember that, and then we go to a call. We I don't know, choose like Queen, and then there is a second barrel on the turn, and suddenly we are on the turn, and we have Queen 8 here, and Queen 8 is now calling. And that is surprising to many people, because we remember that here Queen 8 was folding 100% of the time, and here Queen 8 is here again. So this is suspicious. The reason for that is that what is shown on this screen here are strategies. The strategies say what we do with a hand, assuming we are here at this point. So this only says here, that if we are here with Queen 8 offsuit, then we are going to call 98.5% of the time. It's not going to tell us how often we have Queen 8 to begin with. And if we want to see how often we have a Queen 8 at this point to begin with, we can do it in various ways. So first way is that we can show OOP range, because that's an out of position decision. So we show OOP range, and we can see that there is 0 for Queen 8 as expected, right? And there is this checkbox here, square size proportional to weight, which I like, and which shows the numbers in this nice way. So they are easier to visualize, and yeah, there is nothing for Queen 8. Another way is that we choose strategy or strategy and EV, and then check this checkbox, and again this hand is going to disappear, because now the size of the square is proportional to weight at given point, and we can see that Queen 8 is no longer here. So this is very useful, and it's important to understand the distinction that at this screen here we see the strategies, which says what we do with the hand assuming we are here, and this scales the squares according to the current weight, which is 0 for Queen 8. So there is nothing to worry about. The solver shows the strategy, because for reasons which I'm not going to go into now, it's important to know the strategy at this point. But you don't have to worry about. There's nothing wrong with the solution. You just need to look at the correct info, which is weight at given point, which you can do in various ways. Which the way I'm recommending is use this checkbox here, because that makes the range easier to visualize. Okay, another question. What is a good accuracy to solve the 3-2? So yeah, this is a common question. As you can see, I have the safe here, which is solved to 0.05, which is a very good accuracy. And in fact, this is probably an overkill. What I'm recommending is to use this checkbox here. And if you just need like overview, for flop strategies, and you don't need like exact details, then use 0.5%, because that solution is going to be more or less correct. If you are going to explore a bit more, look at the rivers, and you want a bit more a bit more exact solution, so you can understand like card removal effect and stuff, then use 0.35. This is very good. And if you are a perfectionist, then 0.25 should be enough. I think that going anywhere lower than that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the reason for that is that this accuracy is so close to 0 at this point that is, I mean, for all practical purposes, this is perfect play, because usually when you reach this accuracy, you are in theory exploitable for less, I mean, like for less than 10% of the rake you pay per hand, or less than 5%. So it's not going to be noticeable anyway. So that's for all practical purposes already perfect. And then EVs are very close as well. So going lower than that is just if you have too much time to burn, actually. So yeah, as you can see, I belong to that category because I solved that to 0.05. The reason I did that is that I just left it running during the night, so I didn't care. Another question: what are small and micro saves, and what is recalc accuracy? Yeah, so this is an interesting question. I'm going to go into that. So I have those saves here, which I made today. So let's first this hand. This is 932 rainbow, and you can see that this save here is 2.3 gigabyte. This is a big file, and when you are solving a lot of trees, and some people are solving hundreds or thousands of trees, that's going to be a very serious limitation. So what we have instead is we add an option to make a smaller save than that. And the way to do that, you can go here, and there is forget rivers and save option. So we can click that and call it small. And now we can see that this file here is very significantly smaller than the original. We can actually calculate how much smaller it is. It's almost 50 times smaller, right? So that's more convenient, and you can be interested how does it happen that suddenly we have 50 times less information and less space. So what it did is that we still have a browsable tree, because now we have this small, confirm that we load this small save here. We still have browsable tree. You can browse it the same way. Oh, sorry. You can browse it the same way you could browse, the full tree. And the only difference is that the information is only saved for a flop and a turn. So there are no rivers anymore in that tree. So then you may be interested what happens when you go to the river. When you choose some river, like 5 of diamonds, you see that it still shows that river to us, right? And what is happening under the cover is that the solver, when you go to the river and this river is no longer in the tree, the solver is going to recalculate it for you. And it's going to be recalculated to using this recalc accuracy here. I recommend using like 0.002 here or 0.005. Yeah. So you can see that when you go, it's going to recalculate. Yeah. There's a small pause, which you can see, and that's like 200 milliseconds or 300 milliseconds usually. And this pause is there because it needs some time to recalculate the river, right? And of course, it remembers the one which it already recalculates. So that's not a big problem, like in practice. See, those solutions are very, very good already. This is 100% call because I'm in check, because check is the best action. And yeah, there are just basically no mistakes because this recalc accuracy is 0.002, and this is very close to 0. So from browsing point of view, you can even like go here and change river cars, like using the control and up arrow, control and right arrow. And you see that this is reasonably fast. And what happens under the cover again is that the solver recalculates that river, but you don't need to click anything. You don't need to think about that at all. It just happens automatically for you. So if all you need is browsing then the small saves are the way to go because they load a lot faster, they are a lot smaller, and then they're very convenient to browse. The only problem is that at this point, when we don't have all the rivers in the tree, then you can't do tree operations. You can't, round strategies. You can't lock nodes anymore. And the reason for that is that for all those operations, the EVs you would need to be recalculated, and that is not possible when there are no rivers anymore. So yeah, this is a theoretical stuff. Just remember that you can't do anything with this tree other than browse it at this point. Yeah, also I'm going to demonstrate that it's in fact recalculating because this is a bit too fast and you may not believe me. So I'm going to go like even better accuracy here. And then when I choose the card, you see that the pause is way more noticeable, right? I mean, it's still very fast, but yeah, what can you do? It's just a very fast solver. Yeah. So if this is not enough though, there's another option which is forget turns and then save. This is a micro save, and to enable that you need to go here to configuration. There is this enable forget turns checkbox. The reason it's here and it's not enabled by default is because I think this is a very bad idea to use those micro saves, and I'm going to show you why. Let's make one forget turns, and we are going to call it micro. And then I'm going to load that. First you see that this is like really small, and again we're going to see how much smaller it is. This is 3000.4 times smaller than the original save, so this is really small in fact. And again you can see that you can browse that the same way you could browse the whole tree before. But what is going to happen now is that every time you go to the turn, it's going to recalculate the turn, and it's going to be significant pause. And this is not very convenient because you have to wait for the turn to be recalculated, and you're going to wait quite a bit. And usually it would be a bit faster than it is now. You see, it works. It would be a bit faster, but yeah. The reason is that I have the screen recording software probably. Yeah. Yeah, so this is nothing to be proud of because you see this takes several seconds. You can change the accuracy. It's recalculating too because now 0.1%. Maybe this is like too big. Maybe if we do that, for example, then it's going to be a bit faster. Yeah, but this is painful, right? This is something you probably don't want unless you are doing like really high volume analysis and you need to fit all the files on your hard drive. And another reason could be that you only need a flop, right? You just want flops and you want to see what the flop strategy is, and then you don't care about turns, and then you can save that as well. So those are the microsaves. I hope that clears things up a bit. Okay, so then there is another question, which is how do I run a simple script? This is a very common question and is very simple to answer, fortunately. So let's see. What we are going to do is run a very simple script. So first, we need some tree configuration we want to run the script on. So let's say I'm going to choose to bet like single array spot full tree. I'm going to remove this because it's not needed. And yeah, I have this configuration here. I input my ranges, my stacks, my bet sizes, and then I click generate script button. And what we have here is this form. And first we need to input the flops we want to run the script on. So you can input them manually like that. Or you can just generate some of them randomly, which is the option I recommend. You can see that there is wait as well, and this is optional. You don't have to use that. It means how many times this flop is going to be counted to like overall reports, which we are going to go into in the later questions. So yeah, one is default, and don't worry about that for now. There are other things. So this is our required accuracy. As I told you, I recommend like something like 0.35, so we can input that. There is a timeout. You can ignore that by inputting like a very big number here, but yeah, just in case it didn't reach 0.35 for some reason, but it will. But yeah, just in case there is a timeout. So if the timeout is in seconds, so this is 1 hour. So in case it doesn't succeed at getting to this accuracy in 1 hour, it's going to stop anyway for this tree. So this is per tree timeout. There is a break between trees. So if you have a laptop which is overheating, or like a MacBook, which is famous for not the best heating, I mean the best cooling out there, but also like most laptops, unfortunately, are not very efficient when you run them for many hours. You may need to save. I mean, you may need to give a break to it for a few minutes, so it's going to cool down. But by the way, if you have problems with too much heat on your computer, is it a laptop, be it a laptop or desktop computer, I recommend you get a cooling pad for a laptop. And if you have problems with heat on your desktop computer, then almost always the reason is that there is too much dust and dirt in your heatsink, so you need to clean that, and that's going to usually solve all the problems you may have. So yeah, something like 2 minutes might be an option here, but I'm not going to use that. Then you are going to there's another option when we choose what kind of saves are we going to make. Full saves, those are big, several gigabytes files. You remember that? Those are small saves, so flops and turns, which are 50 times smaller or sometimes 100 times smaller, it depends on the tree. And those are those very small microsaves, so you can choose which one you want. There is this optional ignore memory check after first tree is built. This is added because on some systems there are problems with recognize how much memory is left. So yeah, this is safe to check. If you are not going to use your computer during solving, opening too many browsers and stuff, then it's safe to check. Yeah, I mean, nothing bad is going to happen if you run out of memory. It's not going to just slow down and it will kill the solver, and that's not going to be a problem. But it's not dangerous, but yeah. Then there is save directory, and here you can choose when you're going to save all the trees which you solve. So in that case, there's 20 trees here. I recommend making a new folder for every set of trees you solve, because that makes making reports easier and stuff. So yeah, always like call them somehow, like I don't know. Here we have single array spot button bb something, and then there is how the files are going to be called, and this yeah, again, this prefix here you can edit, and this you should left as it is, because then the files are going to be called in this manner, right? So there's the prefix and there is a board, so it's very convenient to use. Yeah, and when you choose all those options, then you click generate script. That didn't work. Okay, because we need a 0 here, right? You click generate script, and you have the script here, which you may browse, but you may just ignore it. And to run it, just go here and run this script, right? And now another window pops out, and the solver here is going to solve those trees. You can see that it's now working hard on solving. Like there's another solver, right? And it's not going to block your interface. You can still use that, right? It's not a very wise decision to solve another tree here while this is working, because they are going to compete for resources, and both are going to be slower. So we will probably don't want to do that, but you can still use your graphical interface if you want. You can even close that. Just don't close this window, because this is the one solving the script for you. It's going to work and give you reports so you can leave it during the night and stuff. I'm going to close it now because I'm not solving those trees. Okay, so that was how to run the simple script. I hope that is easy enough right now. So another question is, how do I run a simple aggregation report? So this is an interesting question, and to answer that, I'm going to load my full tree first. So the aggregation report is this report which makes overall statistics about line frequencies. Oh, I'm going to, by the way, enable my line frequency here. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to continuation bed call second barrel, and now we are answering to the second barrel. You see the strategy here and all other information. But what you may want to do is to see how the strategy is across all the turns, so to speak. So to do a report like that, you go to plugins, aggregation, and then there is run out aggregated frequencies analysis, and you run that. We need to choose our name, so that will be frequently asked questions sample report. Click OK. There is a progress bar here. You can see that this is pretty fast. And now the report is ready, and it is located in our reports folder here. And what we get are 4 files. There are hence EV file, which produce EVs and equity realization for all the hands. Those are combined into preflop categories, but you can see specific combinations as well. So on this flop here we had like 932. We can see that 3s are the best hands. Yeah, this is usual that lower set brings more expected value than the highest set, because it's easier to get some value from top pairs having that instead of that. But you can see that this is very close, but this is like this is not a mistake. It's in fact, you often make more money with a weaker hand if it doesn't block hands you can make money from, so to speak, right? So you have those EVs here, and they are sorted by EV, so you can see that. Another question, sorry. Another thing which we get here is this report here, which is a main file, and this is the interesting stuff. We can see that those are equity, EV for both players, again equity realization, and again raising frequency, calling frequency, and folding frequency in percentages, and they are displayed for all the turn cards here. So remember that this is answering to second barrel, and we can see that those are call frequencies across all the cards. They are very similar, but still is you can use this feature of your program. I mean, from like the spreadsheet, you can sort it. You can sort it by, for example, like calling frequency. Then we'll see that on the 8 of diamond we call 8 of diamonds we call the most like 60%, and 5 of spades is a hand a card when we call the least, right? Maybe it would be more interesting to sort using M column, which is fold. I'm sorry, this is a Polish version, so you will need to find those options in your language. Okay, so when I sorted via fold column, we can see that we fold the most on the 4 of diamond turn card, which is not very surprising because we don't have those low cards that much when we defend against steal, and we fold the least against when 8 of diamond hits, right? But this is quite all of them are quite similar, so you can see yeah, and you can do that on the river as well, but it's going to take a bit more time, so I'm not going to do that now. Yeah, so this is aggregation report for one tree. And again, you choose a place in the tree you want to run it, and then you run it and see the aggregated strategies for all the runouts. In this case, all the turns, but if you do it here, it would be for all the rivers as well. So there is another option, which is multi-files runout aggregator frequencies analysis, and that is very interesting. And the way to use that, you first need to solve a lot of flops. I wonder if I still have that. Maybe I don't, because I probably unfortunately deleted most of my flops because I needed some space on my hard drive. Yeah, so I'm not going to show it now, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, but the way to do that is that, yeah, I'm going to do it, go over it in part 2. For now, I'm going to just tell you that you just open the folder when you solved a lot of trees. Then you choose one of the saves. Like, for example, let's assume this folder have all the same configuration. You choose one of them. You again go to interesting point, which is often like the starting point of the tree, and then you run this. Yeah, but I can't show you now because I don't have solved files. So it's going to be in part 2 of this video. Okay, another question is what flop subset do I use to approximate flop EVs, and can I get a link to Will Tipton's flop subset? And yeah, so what I showed you before is that choosing just some random flops, which you can, for example, choose 100. But maybe it's more productive to use like pre-prepared subset of flops here, which is designed to represent the whole game. So you don't need to solve all of them. And to solve all of them, you just do that. But maybe you want a smaller subset, and then you can just copy paste this subset here and solve. But some people made a considered effort to find a good subset, and one of them, and probably the first one, is Will Tipton, who is a very good poker theoretician and author. I recommend his stuff a lot because, yeah, he made a very nice thread on 2+2 forum here. This is poker theory subforum. The topic is choosing subset of flops for studying the game, and there is a very nice article. You can read that. You can get his subset here, and there is a very nice discussion as well in this thread. You can see that this is quite long, and I recommend you read that so you understand what it is all about. I hope that answers this question, and I hope you can find that link actually, because this is like, I think, in the archives, because that's already more than 1 year old, so maybe there's some searches. I mean, you can ask on our group, people have that link, and they will give it to you. Okay, another question is it possible to import some ranges from other poker programs? So I don't really know why would you like to use other poker programs, but in case you want that, we made it available for you. And what you do is that you just copy it, like copy using Ctrl+C, and then you paste here, or you just use Ctrl+V, and that will work from many programs, not all of them. If there is some popular program you want to use it, you want to import ranges from, you can message us, and there is some chance we make the import work as well. So it's very easy. You just copy paste and then you save your range, and that's it. Another question is, can I remove some particular line in the tree, for example, check raise? So this is a good question, and the motivation for this question is that some of the trees are too big and too
long to solve. I mean, this is not very big yet, but when we try adding some all-ins here and maybe adding, some overbets here, it's going to get bigger and bigger. And then when you want to show a lot of solve a lot of them, you may run into problems. So sometimes you want to remove some of the lines, and the way those checkboxes are designed are you can remove some frequently not needed lines just by unticking the checkbox or ticking this one. So this one is interesting, particularly when we build a tree, and we go here. You can see that confirmation bet, check raise, and there is a 3-bet. And often you don't need that. You just want to base your strategy on calling in position all the time and then playing the turn and river. That is actually very reasonable, both theoretically and in practice. So if you check that and build a tree, you'll see that there is no 3-bet anymore. And the difference is that there's 3.37, and without that it's 3.6. So it's like 10% difference. Maybe it's not that big, but yeah, that's one thing you may want to do if you want to remove, like, for example, a check raise on the flop. So here you don't want that. You just remove the raise, build a tree, and there is no more check raise. But sometimes you want to remove something which is not possible yet from this form, and you can do that as well. So for example, when we have let's say we want to remove this action here, but only in this line when this called check, call, and only this. Then you choose that action, go to tools, solver, and there is cut currently selected line, and you see that is no longer there, right? So you can do that, and then you can click go and solve. So that's maybe not the most convenient way for now, but one which is workable. So that's it. And the last question, which is advanced, and if you are not doing any advanced scripting and programming, you can skip that and wait for part 2. You are also invited to ask your questions which you would like to see answered. You can ask those questions either in YouTube comments or in our 2+2 2+2, I'm sorry, this is Polish pronunciation all the time, 2+2 thread here. You can ask, say someone asks just something. I didn't respond yet, but I will after I'm done with this video. So you can ask here, you can ask on YouTube comments, and you can send us an email, and then it's likely to make it to part 2 of frequently asked questions, if it's frequently asked and it's interesting enough to other people. So the last question, which I'm going to answer now, is what are matchups? Yeah, so when you see there is this report we just made today, and there are matchups, right? And there is some mysterious number, and this number is a probability. This is weight or probability of that happening. You can see that this is not normalized to 0 to 1, but it doesn't matter. This is like relative probability. So if you add all those numbers, you will have like the whole space of possible things, and you will see, and then there is a probability of 1, right? So if you add all those ways and then divide, you will get probability. So yeah, what it says that, for example, this card is less frequent than this card, and the reason for that, there's card removal effect. So when you are at this point in the tree, you often see that I mean this card is the cards are influenced by ranges, right? So some of the turn and river cards are more frequent than others because ranges are shaped that way. For example, when you play a flush draw but you don't play hands which don't make a flush draw, then the flush card is less likely to fall because a lot of your range is blocking that card, right? So those matchups here, they express that idea, and they are a measure for that, and they are necessary to use when you are calculating the totals here. The solver does it for you. I mean, the viewer does it for you. So those are already like included. Um, those are not arithmetic average, but weighted average per probability. So this is advanced concept, and if you are not programmer and if you are not doing advanced stuff, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope this is a useful video. I'm planning to make another one soon when I collect more questions. Yeah, thank you for listening. Have fun with the software.